Thank you. We're gonna try and do a blot and a half tonight. Hopefully a blot and a half tomorrow. And then we'll be all right. It's not such a it's kodshim. The next few blot, like we said yesterday, it's kodshim. Yeah, so we left off yesterday. Well, we started the Mishnah on Nun Beis Amud Beis that there's
You're on
three
candid
times.
camera.
There's three times. There you go. There's three times that you have to. There's not three times. There's three types of kodshim that you can use to marry a woman, and it doesn't work. There's kodshim. Well, not necessarily doesn't work. It's machlokes. There's kodshim kalim, and there's kodshim that we said for sure you're not mikudeshes, and then meiser and hekdesh we'll get to. But we said in the Gemara that Rabbi Yehuda held that you can be mekadesh and isha with kodshim kalim. Kodshim kalim means the type of kodshim that are cheap, not cheap, but whatever. They're not, as opposed to kodshim, they get given out to Yisraelim, etc., etc. So we said it's a machlokes.
Is it possible to use a korban pesach? And from a chaylik from the korban pesach, can you do that? She has to already be mine on the korban pesach, and korban pesach is a part of kodshim kalim also. Just thinking about it, whatever. Maybe
I don't know what it's. I don't know if it's considered kodshim kalim. L'chayr, that's part of the machlokes. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to be mine on it. she can't get any hana from it if you just say, "Oh, here comes the girl," unless she is already mine on it, and you say, "Okay, I got you with this piece. This is the piece you get."
I hear that. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that's part of it. So we said yesterday there's a machlokes. And then the Nimru v'Gamru was a machlokes whether Rabbi Yehuda changed his mind. Right? So Rav said Rabbi Yochanan said Rabbi Yehuda changed his mind, and you cannot be mekadesh yishu kodshim kalim. And Rav said no, he still disagreed. So that's where we left off. So 3 lines down, Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. Amar Abaya, Kavaseder Rabbi Yochanan Mistavra. Sounds like Rabbi Yochanan that Rabbi Yehuda changed his mind and held that you're not allowed to be mekadesh and isha kodshim kalim. Now again, what's the machlokes talian? Are kodshim kalim considered Hashem's kodshim, and a kohen and a Yisrael are allowed to eat it because Hashem shares the food with them? But it really all belongs to Hashem. So if it belongs to Hashem, you can't go be mekadesh and isha with him. Or do we say that no, it's given to Hashem, gives it over to the Kohanim to do it with it as they please? Right, so that's what. So now the Gemara is going to go through a raya that takes about a half a amud of that Rabbi Yochanan did change his mind. So the Kohanim, right? The Kohanim, they give out, they share in the karbanos. Right? So let's say one kohen is a bread guy. He likes sourdough. And another guy likes meat. So the kohen will say, you know what? I'll take 2 portions of a korban mincha, which is flour. And the other one will say he'll take meat. Right? So any korban mincha that gets baked in the oven, l'chol b'nei Aaron tiyah, it's going to go to all b'nei Aaron. So therefore, all b'nei Aaron share in it. So you can't swap. Okay. So maybe that tells you that you can't split minchas neged meat, shaloi komo tachteim bedalas, because you cannot substitute a regular meat and korban with flour. Meaning there are certain korbanos that if you can't afford it, so you get out of bringing birds. It's mostly birds, which we'll see in a minute. Right, so you bring a korban mincha instead.
Tzvi Yaakov, you said sourdough before. You didn't mean
I
sourdough.
didn't mean sourdough. No, I just
Sourdough
said
is
and a
always
chanam.
David Lachme
I,
Taida.
I was waiting for you to say it, but I
Okay,
said, figured,
all
all right,
right.
I was
Good
waiting. I
answer.
didn't.
Good.
I meant I didn't. I mean, I meant the guy doesn't like meat. I didn't want to start with the vegetarian. You know what I mean? I didn't want to start with that. Right. So yeah. So anyways, so shaloi komu tachteim badalas. So maybe you can't split carbon minchas with meat because they're not replaceable for poor people. But maybe when they're splitting birds, Rashi says, so there maybe you could split it. Sharei komu tachteim badalas, because sometimes when you're chayiv to bring a carbon for what do you call it? Which carbon does he bring it for? Because Tommy that comes into the Beis Hamikdash. So if you can't afford the birds, so you can bring flour. So since it replaces it, maybe you could split them. Anything that's made in a marcheshes is a deep frying pan that goes to chol b'nei Aaron. So therefore you can't split it. Meaning you can't split it neged chicken. You would think that you don't split carbon mincha neged birds, because these are some are flour and some are they have blood, meaning you have to sprinkle the blood. But you should be able to split birds with meat. They both are blood. They both have blood that gets sprinkled. It says val machavas. It says on a machavas, which is a regular frying pan, right? So therefore, you can't split that. So you think, okay, you can't start splitting birds with meat. Because birds you do with your finger, with the not your finger. I'm sorry, your thumb, Racham. You do it with your thumb, right? But it's done with the hand, and the shechita is done with a knife. But you should be able to split one carbon mincha with another type of carbon mincha, because that's obviously done by hand. It goes to chol b'nei Aaron. So you think, okay, so you can't split a type of carbon mincha that goes in a regular frying pan with the deep frying pan, or a deep frying pan next to a regular frying pan. Because the deep pan doesn't cook, it doesn't fry it as much, so it's much softer. And the small frying pan, the regular frying pan, makes it very hard. But you could split one frying pan opposite another frying pan, or because both of these it becomes very hard. Or just split the soft. And that if it's dry, it should go to all b'nei Aaron. Yochol, right? So therefore, you can't split anything. Maybe you only can't split Kaddish Kedashim, but you think you should be able to split Kachim Kalim. It says every person like his brother. If you're going to bring a carbon toida, which means the same way you can't split up Kachim Kalim. So too, you also can't split up Kachim Kalim. Ish, and so what is Ish for? Ish chaylek afilu balmum, meaning even if a kain is a balmum, he still gets to split some of the karbanos. And a katan chaylek afilu tam, and a katan less than bar mitzvah kain doesn't get anything, even if he doesn't have any mum. So okay, so now what's all this about? Bottom line is the Gemara is saying, this whole brisa is saying that you cannot start bartering karbanos. Any type, one type to another type cannot be bartered. Three wide lines down. Right? No bartering whatsoever. Right? So, but then we say even by Kachim Kalim. So you see that Kachim Kalim still belong to Hashem. If it belonged to each Kayin, why can't a Kayin barter? Right? If you hold that a Kayin could take Kachim Kalim and marry a girl with it, so then you should be able to barter with it. Why not? What's the difference? Elamai, this price is saying you can't barter even with Kachim Kalam. Mela, that you're not be able to marry. So now who is this Tana? Stam Sifra money. So this is a Sifra. Right? In Vayikra, what we call the Midrashim that do Allah is called Sifra. So Stam Sifra money, Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda. Huka Amar the Lespa din Chaluka Klal. And he's saying that there's no such thing as splitting. Shemami, no, that you see that Yehuda holds that the reason why you can't split Karbanas is because they belong to Hashem. And they don't belong to each individual Kayan. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda Taka holds that you can't marry anybody with Kachim Kalam. So therefore, even though on the previous Amud, we said Rabbi Yehuda holds that you could marry Kachim Kalam, Rabbi Yochanan said that they had a revote and they changed their minds. Right, so that's a proof. Amar Rava ukarav mi loy Tanya. Then we have a brisa like Rav that Rabbi Yehuda still disagrees. But Tanya tznuim mashchanes ideim v'garganim cholkim. This is talking about the lechem aponim. What he calls the showbread, right? The bread that was put on the shulchan they baked it on Friday, swapped it out every Shabbos morning, and there was a nace that it stayed fresh, right? It stayed fresh, and then there was the whole week, and then there was another nace. Who was it? Which kohen was it? Who was the kohen gadol then? Shimon. Who was the kohen? What did Rashi say?
Shimon HaTzadik.
Shimon HaTzadik. There it is. Yeah, the first white line. Shimon, thank you. Shimon HaTzadik. There was a nace. And anybody who got a kizayis of lechem aponim, any kohen who got a kizayis lechem aponim filled him up. But after that Shimon HaTzadik, that nace went away. So then the Kohanim started fighting with each other. Well, actually not. Some Kohanim were fressers, as we'd call it. So,
Jacob, my mama's taking a beating over here. It's Capella.
Sorry, what should I tell you? Yeah. We'll see. Taisus will bail you out first. Amar Ravo Kirav Miloi. Do we not have a brisa like Rav? It says Vatanya Tznuim Moshe. Those that would Tznuim, Kohanim that would Tznuim, they would pull back their hands. They wouldn't say, you know what, I won't eat from the lechem aponim. But Garganim, Cholkim, and the Garganim, the fressers, right? They would split it. My Cholkim, what does Cholkim mean? They split it. Chaytvim, they would grab it away. There was one kohen who grabbed his own piece of the lechem aponim, and he grabbed his friends. While you I said Ben Chamtzon, Ad Yom Moshe, they called him a Ben Chamtzon until the day that he died. Right? So you see from there. So what's saying? So what was the raya? The raya we want to say that you see that they did allow kohanim, some kohanim to take more than their share. Why was it allowed? If it all belongs to Hashem, how can they take more than their share? Elamai, it belongs to them, and they could split it up. Right? So Taisa says, no, it doesn't mean that they actually split it up. They grabbed it away, and they let it slide. So how do you know that Pasuk says that chaytfim, that the word chamtzon means to grab? Save me from the Russia, from the hand of somebody who's a Russia, and the olive of chaymitz. A chaymitz is like somebody who takes things that don't rightfully belong to him. Right? Learn how to be good and look for mishpat, for justice, and take care of the people that were chametz, that were ripped off. Right? So you see that chametz means that. It means like somebody who grabs things.
It says they called him Chaimetz and Chaimetz ad Yom Moshe, right?
Right.
Ad below ad v'klal, they died. They didn't call him Chaimetz. They called him something else.
I don't know.
And after that, they called him something else different. They didn't call him Chaimetz after that. Until the day he died. After that, he said, "Okay, we don't want to talk bad on
on the
chevra,
Yeah, so maybe. But again, but Taisus says, what was the Gemara's answer? that they didn't split it, but they're talking about where they grabbed it. Right?
So
But then the Gemara says that a guy that grabbed it was called, what do you call it, chametz the rest of his life. So that sounds like the Kohanim didn't grab it.
you mean the rest of the Kohanim? Just this one grubber that said it to be chaz.
What?
This one guy, the one guy wanted to be
Right.
chaz.
So then, what does the Gemara mean? Taisus asks, meaning, if we're saying that was the derech, so what did he do wrong? Right?
Maybe he was just bigger than all the other Kohanim, and that's what he's just bigger. And we'd say maybe this is not a good thing to do, and you can't be take another guy's chaylik, because this guy was a tough cookie, you know.
Right. So Taisus says it's somewhere where he grabbed a much bigger portion. The others, they would only grab from the chaylik of the tznuin. But this guy was grabbing other guys who grabbed. So he was taking a much larger chaylik. So that's why they didn't like him. Right? Yeah, fine. Right. So Maisa Sheni, now we start with the Maisa Sheni and the Kodshin. So Maisa Sheni, again, Maisa Sheni is what you have to take up to Yerushalayim. Take the fruits up to Yerushalayim and eat them there. If you can't bring them up to Yerushalayim, so you paid it onto money and you bring the money to Yerushalayim and you eat it there.
But it's yours and you get to eat it.
It's yours. It's not. So the question is that considered hektish or not?
Well, we said yesterday that you can't be Mekadosh a woman with it.
Well, so that's what we say yesterday, the machloikis. So the question is, does it have hektish or not?
No, we said
Well, we're doing it now. This is the sugya now.
Wait, one person said b'shoigeg.
Let's see. So Maisa Sheni, the Gemara says Maisa Sheni, bein b'shoigeg, bein b'mezid, loy kiddush, divrei Meir. The Meir holds whether the guy did it on purpose, he took Maisa Sheni money and gave it to this woman to marry her, or whether he did it by mistake. She's not married. If he did it by mistake, she's married. Purposely, she's not married.
No, the opposite.
The other way around, no?
Did I just say the opposite? Shoigig is not married. Mazid is married. Yeah?
Yes.
Fine. So how do we know? Right? Meaning we're looking for a mayor now who holds, obviously, that Maisa Sheni is considered so kaddish, you can't use it to marry a woman. Right? So it's an interesting thing. It's in the name of Gemara, which Rashi says it means it was a pashut thing and everybody knew it. It was on everybody's mouth in the Bismerish. Right? And any meiser of the land from the Zera Haaretz, from the Priya Eitz, Lashem Hu, Kodesh Lashem. It's to Hashem and it's Kodesh Hashem. Lashem Hu, V'loi L'Kadosh Ba'isha. It's considered to Hashem's, even though you're allowed to eat it yourself. That's the Chiddush here. Even though you're meant to just eat it yourself, still it's considered like it's Hashem's, right? So, and you can't marry a woman. Oh, the Gemara asks, Trumas Meiser. Trumas Meiser is the Levium have to give truma from the 10% that they get from the Yisrael. They have to give a 40th, 50th, or 60th to the Kayin. So what about that? It says Trumas Hashem, but Trana Makadosh B'Truma Mikudeshes. And if a Kayin is Makadosh and Isha with Truma, then she's married. Because Truma is given to the Kaihanim, it's not hektish. They're given to the Kaihanim for them to do whatever they want. So Gemara answers the like Lashem. It doesn't say Lashem. Yeah.
Trumas Meiser isn't a 10th of the Meiser? It's a 40th, 50th, 60th.
As I was saying it, I was doubtful.
I think
when you said truma, you meant truma, not trumas mice. Trumas mice is what the Levi gives to the kohen from the mice.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Is it 10% or a 4?
It's 10%. 10%. Yeah.
As I was saying it, I'm mixing it up with regular truma. Yeah, you remember that for sure? Okay, good. Thank you. Either way, it belongs to the kohen, so it's not hektish. So he can marry a woman with him. Fine. But so the Gemara answers, the reason is it doesn't say Lashem, it just says Trumas Hashem. Okay, Varechala, which is another form of Truma. Tichsiv titnu Lashem. Itnan HaMekadesh b'Trumas Mekudeshes. If you Mekadesh into with Truma, she's Mekudeshes. which includes challah. So the Gemara says the like sibe kodesh. It doesn't say kodesh. Okay, varishviya shmita, which we know from yesterday's daf. Shmita, you can be marrying a woman with shmita. The siba yovel he kodesh tiyelachem. It says the word kodesh. The Tanana Makash refers to shviyas mekudeshes. So the Gemara says the like sibe lashem because it doesn't say lashem. Vare truma the sib kodesh yisrael lashem reishis tuasai. Betnan hamakadesh betruma mikudeshes. Somebody's makadesh with truma is mikudeshes. So when it says Ahubi Yisrael, when it says there kodesh Yisrael Hashem, it's not referring to the truma. It's referring to Klal Yisrael. The Klal Yisrael is kodesh. On Tommy Beis, it says V'lav Memela Shamas Mina. Don't we hear that Memela? That the truma is also kodesh Lashem. Right, so to Tirgum Rav and Saba Kamei the Rav, he has a different pshat. Amar Kra, who Baba Yasa Yehei. It should be who. Anytime it says who, it should be the way it is right then and there. Right, so we learn out from that is that it means that you can't use it for anything else. It's Kadosh Lashem, and you can't use the Ma'aser Sheni for anything else. So that's how Rameir knows that regardless of whether the guy married this woman on purpose with Ma'aser Sheni or by mistake with Ma'aser Sheni, it doesn't belong to him. Fine. That's the easy one. Ma'aser Sheni. Ubehektish b'mezid by hektish b'mezid kiddush b'shogig like kiddush. Shtiver Rameir. B'mezid is mekadosh. B'shogig is not mekadosh. That's what Rameir holds. Right? Rav Yehuda, I remember Shoige Kiddush, but Mezid like Kiddush. If he does it by mistake, it's a Kiddushin. And on purpose, it's not. So Rav Yaakov, Shamas Mined Rav Yochanan Tarti. I heard in the name of Rav Yochanan two things. Shigigas Meiser to Rav Yehuda, Shigas Hektish to Rav Meir. The Shogig of Meiser of Rav Yehuda, who held that it is a Kiddushin, right? And Shigig of Hektish to Rameir and Shogig of Hektish of Rameir, who holds that it's not married. Shneim Ein Isha Miskadshim. Both of them, the Isha is not Miskadish. I think I said it wrong again. Here Rameir Tati Shigig Meister to Rabbi Yehuda, where she's not married, and Shigig Hektish to Rameir, where she's not married. Both of those Shneim Ein Isha Miskadeshes Behem. A woman is not married. Right? Why? One is because the woman doesn't want to get married with this thing, either Hektish or Ma'aser Sheni. That both of them don't want, not the man and not the woman. And I don't remember which one was which. Meaning, he said, I heard from Rabbi Yochanan that one of them is because it doesn't work because the woman is not interested in getting married with this, and the other one is that neither the man or the woman want it. So Rav Yirmiyah, now let's see. Meiser ihi nicha la. She's not interested in getting married, receiving Meiser Sheni. Shem tircha d'archa. Let's say this woman gets money. She gets fruits. The guy gives her a bushel of fruits and says, "Will you marry me?" Oh, but it's Meiser Sheni. So she's got to schlep these fruits up to Yerushalayim in order to get them. So that's not mutter. Not mutter. I mean, that's a headache for her. Why would she want to get married with that? But him, it's very gishmak to do that. The nikni yitzim and mela. He's taking his Meiser Sheni, and he's just marrying this woman without any sort of tircha. Right? Ela hektish tarvayu loy nichalu. But by hektish, both of them are not interested. The nischel hektish al yadayu. Nobody wants to be starting up with hektish and be a party to taking something from hektish and making it not kodesh anymore. Right? So that's the way Rav Yirmiyah said it. It must be that the Meiser, she doesn't mind. She minds, and he doesn't mind. And the Hektish, they both mind. Then Rav Yaakov says the opposite. Rav Yaakov, Ifcha Mistaver, the sword is the other way. She's not interested in receiving Meiser Sheni because she's not interested in the headache of traveling to Yerushalayim. And he's not happy with it because of the Ein Zadarcha, meaning if something goes on, something happens to this fruit when it's on its way up to Yerushalayim, he's going to be responsible, right? So he doesn't want that. She doesn't want it to naskal hektish al yoda. She doesn't want to be the one to take that hektish and make it go out to chulin by receiving it for her marriage. What does he care? If the woman's the one that takes it out of hektish, why should he care? So we have two conflicting views as to which one would the man be unhappy with, and which one would the woman be unhappy with. Fine. So Rav had a shalom Rav Chisda. Isha ein miskadeshes. A woman by hektish, she doesn't get married. Meaning, if somebody takes hektish money and gives it to the woman for Kiddushin, she's not married. When she was given this money, right, again, this guy goes to her, gives her some money and says, will you marry me? It ends up being hektish money. So we're saying the marriage is no good. Okay, fine, but does this money go out to chulin? If the woman is not married, how can it go out to chulin? So basically, maybe we should explain this before. Basically, if the item that the man is marrying the woman with if it's considered a marriage, that means it automatically went out to chulin. If it's not considered a marriage, then it's still hektish. Right? So we're saying here, so what's with the money? So Gemara is asking, what do you mean what's with the money? If she's not married, the reason why she's not married is because you can't do anything with that hektish money. So therefore the hektish money is still hektish. So what's the question? Right? So of course it's still hektish. Fine. Then what happens when a guy sold something? Meaning he went to the store to buy himself a drink and he used hektish money. Is that the same as marriage? Because right now we just said the marriage doesn't work and the money stays hektish. Here the guy goes to the grocery store, he buys himself a drink, right? Now, by mistake, and now that money loses hektish and the drink becomes hektish or not? He said, he says, no, even the mecher, it's not kinda. He doesn't get it and it doesn't go out to chulin. So but then the Gemara asked, Chenveni kabalabayis. So Chenveni is like a balabayis. So we need a little background on this case. So in the Mishnah and Meila says that if the Gizbar, who's in charge of the money in the Beis HaMikdash, by mistake takes hektish and gives it to the money changer, so it's going to depend now who's going to be, first of all, is he over on Meila? And if not, is the money changer over on Meila if he spends it or not? So the Mishnah there says that if it's wrapped up, if the coins are wrapped up, then it's considered like he wasn't meant to use it. And if he used it, then it's his problem, meaning it's the money changer's problem. Right? But what about if the chenveni, he gives it to a store owner, not to a money changer? So a store owner doesn't usually need as much cash because he's got a cash business. So cash is coming and going. So chenveni, but he doesn't really need so much. So chenveni kabbalah bias. The chenveni has the din of a balabayas. And therefore, if he gives money that's not wrapped up to a chenveni, then he knows that he doesn't think he's going to use it. So he's not allowed to use it. So chenveni is like, and if he does use it, then he is over meila. That's what a mayor holds. No, chenveni is like a money changer because sometimes the store owner does need money. So their whole machlokes is whether a store owner has a din of a balabayis or he has the din of a money changer. Fine. But everybody says that if the guy, any one of them spends the money, then he's over on meila. Right? Meaning somebody's over on meila. So you see that how you over on meila, like we said before, the only way to be over on meila is if the stuff leaves hektish and goes out to chulin, right? So you see, if this guy's over on meila and he used the money that was given to him by the gizbar, by the treasurer of the Beis HaMikdash, and then whatever is being over on meila, but that means that the purchase is considered a legitimate purchase, and it goes out to chulin. So Gemara answers from Meir Ledvaru to Rabbi Yehuda Kamar. He's going according to Rabbi Yehuda. Lediti im haitzi nami loimal. According to me, if he spends it, there's no meila at all because it doesn't go out. But according to you, who says if somebody spends hektish by mistake, it's considered meila. Idulu mias the chenveni kabbalah bias. Then you should at least be moeded when the chenveni is not kabbalah bias. V'amralei. And Yehuda said, no, kishulchani, he's still like a shulchani. Right? And since he's like a shulchani, then it's the gizbar who's over and not the shulchani. Right? Fine. Okay, whatever that back and forth is, but the point is that the Gemara was thinking that Rameir would be made, and the Gemara and Rameir is saying, no, I'm going according to your sheet. According to me, there's nobody's over on Me'ila. Fine. So Amar Rav, on to Amar Aleph now. Chazar al kol tztadim shel Rameir. I went and looked at all the tztadim of Rameir by Me'ila. V'lo metzinu hektish b'shoigig ein mischalo. I never found a case of hektish b'shoigig not becoming chulin b'mezid mischalo. Right? But by mezid, it does become chulin. Right? Meaning, we said in the Mishnah that Rameir differentiates. Do we say Rameir differentiates? Yeah, right. And the Rameir holds by hektish, but mezid, it's considered. She's considered married because he's over on Me'ila, but shoygeg he's not over. So, right. So Rav said.
No.
So Rav. Right. So Chazarno al kol stadim. They went and looked at all its stadim. Shor Rameir. V'lo mitzinu hektish b'shoygeg ein mischal. We didn't find that hektish b'shoygeg doesn't go to chulin, but b'mezid it does go to chulin, which is exactly what our Mishnah said. And Mishnah saynu. Okay, so what about our Mishnah, which he clearly says that if it's done b'mezid, then there she's married. If it's done b'shoygeg, she's not married. B'ksainis kahuna shaloi balu. It's talking about the clothing of Kohanim that didn't get decayed. Meaning, Kohanim's clothing that was still able to be used. Since Kohanim have a special dispensation that they're allowed to use the Big Day Kahuna, even though it's hektish. Why are the Kohanim allowed to use the Big Day Kahuna? Because that's part of the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. Right? But how are they not over on Me'ila? They're not going to get personal benefit from it. Right? So the Gemara says, the Torah was not given to Malachi Yasharis. So since the Torah was not given to Malachi Yasharis, it can't be that the Kohanim are not going to benefit personally from it. And the Torah doesn't mind. Because the Torah knows that if they're giving the clothing to we're saying that the Kohanim wear the clothing, so we know that they're going to benefit from it either before the Avodah, after the Avodah, both, whatever it is. Right? So if a Kohen, by mistake, takes one of his hats, whatever the Big Day Kahuna, and he gives it to a lady, and he thought he's giving the lady his chulin hat, but he ends up making a mistake, and he gives the lady his hektish hat, right? So then it's not a marriage, because we say that Kohanim are allowed to benefit from it. They don't mean they're not allowed to lechatchila, but if they did, it's not a problem. Because right? So that's the only case we can find that Rameir holds that if you do it on purpose, so then she's going to be considered married because he's over on Me'ila. But if he did it by mistake, she's not considered married because it still belongs to Hashem, because Hashem gave a special dispensation for Kohanim to be able to benefit from the Big Day Kahuna. So basically, it's interesting. So we're saying that our Mishnah is in one specific case. Rameir's opinion is in one specific case by Big Day Kahuna.
Right? We have the wicks for the menorah was made out of the Big Day Kahuna that was worn out. So you see, we're using it for something else. So there's no difference over here. Maybe the Kohanim will wear out his pants wore out, so he makes wicks out of his pants.
Yeah, but we're talking about here that they were shaloi balu. Here we're talking about Shaloi Balu,
Uh,
right?
okay, so he
Sounds like when they were Balu, then there would be.
this is where the term comes for that when they get divorced. Yeah, she took my pants. She took me. She actually took the pants. I got nothing left.
Okay, Rahman, there you go. That's an interesting shot. Okay, yeah. But anyway, so we're saying it's a very specific case. Fine. So Toshima, again, so that's Rav was saying that a mayor's case is in a very specific case. We're talking about where he got married by mistake with the big day kahuna. So Ksainas, Kosnas kahuna shabalu, Moilin behem. See? The clothing of a kohen that already got worn out, there is mila, divir meir, my lava filu loy balu. Maybe it means even if they didn't get decayed, and therefore it slugs up what we just said. And when it says loy balu dafka means no, the only one they decayed, not decayed, whatever the word would be. They wore out. Right? But if they didn't wear out yet, the Rameir holds it, there's no mila by mistake. Fine, Toshima. Moilin bechadatin bein moilin batikin. You can be over on Me'ila on new shkalim, but not the old shkalim. Right? Every year they brought machzas shekels. Right? They brought machzas shekels, and they used it up throughout the year. Let's say somebody brings it late, so they had a special bucket for them. Right? So if you used the new coins, you're over on Me'ila, but you're not over on Me'ila if you used the old coins. You're even over on Me'ila if you use the old coins. Why? That there's Me'ila on the extra shkalim from the lishka, from the how do you call it? From the room. A lishka is a room, from the room where they kept the money. Why don't you say, since we're meant to be benefiting from these coins, what do they do with all these coins? Right? So they used it for public works. And it's impossible for people not to physically benefit from some of these coins. Why? How do you think they built the walls of the city and the towers? They used it from Shayar al-Lishka. And it can't be that somebody's not going to stay in the shade of the walls of that were built with hektish money, right? So we're not going to care. Because again, they built walls for reasons. So even though the walls are built with hektish money, you're still allowed to benefit from it. Yeah, the Tanan they come from the leftover money from the lishka. So Mela people are going to benefit from it. Yeah. So since people are going to benefit from it, according to Rameir, so Rameir holds that there's no meila. Same way the Kaihanim were allowed to benefit from the clothing, at least by mistake. So it should be the same thing by the money from the shkalim. So when it says loitem Rameir elaim Rabbi Yehuda, don't say change the brisa. Instead of, it's almost like ifka peretz. It's almost like ifka. Oh, doesn't fit according to Rameir. We'll just say it's Rabbi Yehuda, right? Because it does fit with Rabbi Yehuda more. Because Rabbi Rameir holds you do b'shoigeg, they're not married with Hektish. Rabbi Yehuda holds they are married. Fine. So Tashma, another kasha on Rav. The Tanya Rabbi Shmuel, but Rabbi Yitzchak Avnei Yerushalayim shenoshru ma'ilem b'hem. If the stones of Eretz Yisrael of Yerushalayim they fell off, and somebody used them, he's over on Me'ila. Divrei Rameir holds that's Shitas Rameir. Now we just said that according to Rameir, the stones of Yerushalayim people are going to benefit from them. So how you are on Me'ila? So but it says Divrei Rameir. So again it gives the same terror. It's like Rameir, must not be Rameir. Elaim Rabbi Yehuda. Let's say it's Rabbi Yehuda. So
you can't say it's a difference in type of benefit. To get the stone fell off, he took it and used it. You're standing in the shade. It's one
once
thing.
you hold that you can use it, you can use it.
So you're saying the shade and using it for physical itself is the same thing.
What?
What's the difference in using the shade and using the physical stone itself for something?
No, it's once you Rameir's even saying that a guy can take the hat of the Kohen's hat and marry a woman with it,
Right.
b'shoigeg, and it's no problem. Because so it's the same thing. So it says, Rabbi Yehuda Yerushalayim mi mekacha. According to Rabbi Yehuda, is Yerushalayim considered hektish? But Tanan keimra, the guy makes a neder. This depressed me, this Mishnah, because I said, this Mishnah, I never learned this Mishnah. No recollection. And I look, and it's in, where is it? I don't even remember. Nidarim. Right? Which wasn't that long ago. What?
Which means we did do it. We did do it recently.
We did it fairly recently. I looked at this like I have no idea what this Mishnah is talking about. Sometimes I have episode inkling. Right? This one was like totally. I can't even say I was in the bathroom when we learned it. You know what I mean? But Tanan, right? Well, Tanan was over the weather. Mishnah says, Ke'imra, if a guy makes a neder and he says this thing is going to be to me like an imra is seah tamid, a carbon tamid, a lamb from a tamid, kedirim, like a whole corral, ke'etzim, like the wood of the base of mikdash, ke'ishim, like the fire. Meaning these are all nedarim. Like he's using this as a lashon to make something aser onto himself. Kehechal, like the hechal kimizbeach and ki Yerushalayim. So, if he does that, then it's all a neder. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Kol Aimer Yerushalayim Lo Yomer Klum. If a guy says, "I'm making this like what I should say every day. This piece of cake is like Yerushalayim to me." Right? The Tanakama says, "Okay, that's a neder," because Yerushalayim is also about no. Rabbi Yehuda says, "No, it's not." Right? Now we just got finished saying that Rabbi Yehuda holds that Yerushalayim you'd be over on Me'ilah if you picked up a stone. The Chitem Mishum Delay Omar Ki Yerushalayim. It's because he didn't say Ki Yerushalayim. He just said like this cake is Yerushalayim. But Tani Yehuda Aimer Kol Aimer Ki Yerushalayim Lo Yomer Klum. He said nothing. He has to make a neder on something that was brought, meaning a carbon that's in Yerushalayim on Talmud base. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda does hold that Yerushalayim. I mean, he does not hold that Yerushalayim has any sort of hektish. So we just got finished saying that Yerushalayim does have hektish. So when answer is Trey Tanoim who, I'll leave it to Rabbi Yehuda. It's two Tanoim who are having a machlokes in Rabbi Yehuda. All right. Yeah, wow, it's early. We said sometimes it's an advantage to having sugis that we have no idea what we're talking about, that it goes fast.
Definitely an advantage on some of those.
It's an advantage.
Yeah, no one said a word in the last half hour.
No, because what I would say, it's all this stuff, this esoteric stuff. I mean, we have lots of kahanim on, but yeah. Yeah, okay, I guess we'll stop here. Because tomorrow's stuff. We'll hopefully be able to do a block and a half tomorrow. Should be relatively, if it goes the same way as today, it should go relatively fast. So now I guess,
well, is it the same stuff?
it's basically, yes. See, I warned you, it's a couple